want to know what the hell is going on.
Wait a minute, so we're all recording and it's not we didn't watch a movie for this, so
Clap.
what the hell are we doing?
Please clap.
No clap.
Please
You have the clap.
3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
Please clap.
Yeah.
It's
one of my favorites. Yeah.
And it's like when you watch him do it, you know that you get that feeling where it's tongue-in-cheek when he's doing it, but the tongue-in-cheek is not coming through and it's just coming across completely desperate and
All
sad.
right. Hang on. I need to hijack this recording to address the controversy.
What controversy?
Well, as many who know me know that I am a fan of Red Letter Media.
Oh my God.
And I watch their videos all the time.
Yes.
On their most recent episode of Half in the Bag, in which they review Nosferatu, near the end, they start doing the Muppet casting of Nosferatu and referencing as in the style of a Muppet Christmas Carol. And this proves that they are listeners, which I am humbled by.
Welcome. I mean,
yes.
So happy to have you as listeners. Tell all your friends, please.
Humbled and grateful for. But also,
I too love Star Trek.
That they are plagiarizing us directly.
Oh!
And
yeah.
If they want to invite us onto their YouTube show to clear the air, I accept. I just want that to be known.
Just to be gracious people in this entire endeavor, if they want to come on our show, that's fine too.
Absolutely.
Whichever way they want to do it. We'd like to clear the air. Our lawyers have advised us we probably shouldn't even go this far, but it's probably a good idea to reach out to the other party before you start litigation.
So we're inviting them to be the bigger film reviewing group and address this
and nothing but love
controversy
both ways, I hope, because we appreciate that they're listeners. Like I said, I too am a fan of Star Trek, and I love their deep dives into a lot of the Star Trek minutia. God bless and all that. Live long and prosper. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Mike, Jay, possibly Rich, maybe Jack. I know you're listening, so just the phone's right here. Just saying.
And I just want to be on record as saying that yes, absolutely, Keith will be the one that goes on any video to discuss this. Yeah.
I will happily bite that bullet and go on Red Letter Media. Sure.
I don't mind, even if it's not my turn that month to shower. I'll do whatever I need to do.
Okay, now that we've got that out of the way.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for
So
him.
welcome to Screen Share and Chill. We've got a little quick shot that we're going to do a few questions just because, we're doing Lord of the Rings and we're doing a lot of series stuff. So it's going to be very, insular, the kind of topics we're talking about. So this is to give you something to talk about, listen to if you don't partake in the Lord of the Rings.
But you really should. How dare you not partake of Lord of the Rings?
Yeah,
honestly.
It's pretty amazing.
Some of the franchises we talked about doing, I could see this quick shot being very useful. This one, who doesn't love Lord of the Rings? I'm sure there are some people out there.
Heathens.
Yeah, you should fix that flaw about yourself if you are not.
We're not even going to mince words about it. You have issues, and you need to work on that.
And how are we feeling about Lord of the Rings? Are we still enjoying it? Are we still enjoying the entire process?
I am. I'm just fighting for time this week to get through the extended Return of the King. So,
I settled in for it last night. I'm like, wait, why are you watching Return of the King?
Return of the King.
I mean,
you're way
two
ahead.
towers. Sorry.
Okay. I settled in last night. I was ready for it. I started it. I got about an hour into it, and I'm like, I am too tired to keep watching this. I need to stop.
I got an hour in on my first attempt.
See, we normally watch the movie together, and this is the first time that we're kind of watching it separately because our schedules are not aligning. And it's funny because part of the thing that I really enjoyed about movie night when we first started it was just about sharing movies. But then it turned into this mental exercise where every Monday night or whatever night we were doing movie night that week, we would get together and I would force myself for however long this movie is to sit there and stare at the fucking screen and pay attention to it. Don't look at my phone. Don't talk to other people in the room. Don't play a game. Just pay attention to the movie. And it's been not only does it allow me to experience the movie differently and, it's much more, on the ball, but it's like a mental exercise of not letting life. Because our phones with notifications and shit, it's changing the way our brains think, and we're always looking for a quick hit of dopamine or what's going on in the world and to fucking stop and pay attention. So I'm right there with you, and that's part of what the Fellowship was fucking hard, man. Going through 3.5 hours of like not paying attention to anything but fucking Lord of the Rings is I don't know,
challenge.
Even when people do these marathons, they usually do them in like groups of people. So y'all are bullshitting and chatting and getting popcorn, and like I took a quick pee break in the middle of Lord of the Rings, and I ran both ways. So, anyways. So,
but we're not here to talk about Lord of the Rings. We're here to give you a reprieve from all that, as you can.
Hey, I'm having fun with it. I'm loving the fact that we are allowed to play around in the wonderful world that J.R.R. Tolkien has created for us. But I have some quick questions that I wanted to ask you all, and I think these are kind of interesting questions. First one is, what are some of your favorite soundtracks and why? Of course, me being the music soundtrack aficionado that I am, I have some favorites, but I'm curious, what are some standouts for y'all?
For me, definitely, Star Wars, anything by John Williams, really. Jaws, Superman, Indiana Jones, all those are like banger hits from my childhood.
Superman.
Yep.
The Superman theme that they're still using.
I think, like, obviously I love all the music all throughout Star Wars. We talked about Lord of the Rings as a master class in the soundtrackscape. There's a really good Elijah Wood slasher movie called Maniac that has a fully synth soundtrack that's pretty amazing. That's another one. Halloween, the original Halloween, love that score. And
so John Carpenter is one of your favorite composers?
I was gonna say The Thing as well, because The Thing has that bum 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 bum, you know.
And it's not even really, he's not a composer. I mean, he is. I would consider himself,
he's a composer,
if he were to list his, you know, like, it's not his number one claim to fame, but damn good.
Yeah. And Terminator, I don't know, I like a lot of movie scores. My favorites are gonna be Star Wars, probably overwhelmingly though, so.
Yeah, don't be afraid to add to your list as the conversation goes, because I got a list a mile long. So, what about you, Jamie?
So I can't come up with like a whole soundtrack that is my absolute favorite, but I can tell you that one of my favorite things in the world is when the music that they choose, whether it is something contemporary or something that they compose for the piece originally, but when it fits perfectly beat for beat and like the rise and swell is perfect. And the moment that comes to mind in an actual movie is in the first Avengers movie when Loki is coming down the stairs and he takes that first swing with his staff. It is just perfection with that music. Absolute perfection.
Oh, I'll have to go back and rewatch it because I don't really remember what the music was doing there. I mean, I can call the Avengers theme to mind. That's a classic, but that scene, no.
Yeah, it's like an he's walking down, there's an orchestra playing, like literally in the scene, and the piece that they chose that moves with the scene moves in perfect tandem with his movements. The other one is not a movie. It is Supernatural. There is an episode where they play Renegade, and it starts off just the beats as they're running upstairs, and then it goes to just the words and no music as they're sitting in the car looking at each other, and then the car takes off as the music swells. Another perfect moment in music.
Renegade, is that a band or is that a name of a song by a band? I don't recall it.
It is a name of a classic rock song. I can't think of the name of the band. I gotta look it up. Give me a second.
Shout out to the Jordan Peele movie Us by turning I Got Five on It into a horror sting.
Yeah,
pretty
I love
awesome.
it when movies do that. They put a twist on a song and they make it different than the way you remember. A lot of horror movies are good at doing that. We talked about it with Let the Sun Shine In. What movie was that? The Autopsy of Jane Doe?
Yeah.
It's by Styx. Renegade is by Styx.
Styx.
Oh,
okay.
there you go. Hey, now that is hair metal to
Right.
the top.
Yeah. Most
Good
of
old
the
cock rock.
Supernatural soundtrack is hair metal, cock rock for sure.
We say butt rock in this household. I'll have you know.
Good thing I'm not in your household then.
Being of the grunge era, I was a teenager during the grunge era, and I totally dug into that, and that was a big part of my teenage identity. The hair rock and glam rock and cock rock, whatever you want to call it, the 80s rock was like the antithesis of what we were trying to make. All of our music was kind of mocking that, which just says a lot about the culture when a lot of it is just poking fun of another culture, but whatever. So yeah, I didn't really get into.
What about you, Kel?
I have a list a mile long, as you would expect. I wrote down a few beforehand just because I could cheat and I knew my list was going to be long. Yeah. Some of them, I'm just going to name the what they came from, but Dances with Wolves, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, I can literally recall that from memory. I can listen to it at any point in my mind's ear.
Talking about the Bryan Adams song, or
no, the soundtrack, the actual soundtrack written by
all of it, including the Bryan Adams song.
Anything I do it for you.
I will say that that Bryan Adams song, when I was a teenager, like I did enjoy that song. I think it hit like right as I was like I was like 13 years old.
Yeah,
so
that'd be about
I was
right
at that impressionable age where even the other kind of rockish band on the end, Wild Times, I think is the name of it. They had 2 rock songs at the end of the soundtrack, Wild Times and then Everything I Do It For You. And I like both of them, but the music was done by, Michael Kamen. Thank you. Michael Kamen was amazing. I think he did a lot of good work. A couple other pieces of work that I really enjoyed. Braveheart. Obviously, amazing soundtrack.
Oh, let me bust in. Sorry, just to shout out the South Park movie musical.
Oh yeah.
That's fun. That's fun.
There is the part in there where the Americans accuse the Canadians of never apologizing for Bryan Adams, and the Canadians protest and say we've apologized for Bryan Adams on several occasions.
Hey, you know what? Bryan Adams has a couple of bops. Like a lot of his music is a little cheesy, but it's not as bad as cock rock. So, the fact that you brought up musicals, I can't allow musicals into this equation.
Right.
I can't.
Yeah.
That list will grow by at least 15 to 20 titles immediately.
That would be its own episode, like musicals that we love, because same.
I'm specifically largely thinking of soundtracks that accompany something on screen and they don't have words. That's the kind of thing that I'm getting at here. Jurassic Park and Star Wars, obviously the John Williams, anything by John Williams is generally really good, but growing up I had Jurassic Park on tape and I would listen to that for hours and hours. Same with Star Wars. The only thing is Jurassic Park allowed me to like imagine different landscapes and different stories, whereas Star Wars was always Star Wars. It was so essentially Star Wars. One of my favorite contemporary composers of soundtracks is Bear McCreary with Battlestar Galactica. Very talented. He also, a lot of his other stuff is amazing. Everybody might know him from like The Walking Dead.
The Child's Play soundtrack, the remake theme he did, and it's awesome. He does it all on like vintage toys and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And what I love, he does black sails. He takes the instruments that are appropriate for what you're talking, or like the setting, and then he puts a spin on them, and I fucking love it. It's simple but complex. He's a wonderful composer. Getting into video games, there are a couple people that I want to recommend, but they're so problematic that I feel bad.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Jeremy Soule from the Skyrim and all the Elder Scrolls games and a million other games, and Martin O'Donnell, the guy that did Halo. A Deference for Darkness is one of my all-time favorite songs ever. It's from the Halo ODST.
The fucking Doom soundtrack guy is really fucking good too.
Oh yeah, I forget
slaps.
his name, but yeah, and it's a different genre of music than I usually get into. I don't get into the real hardcore like heavy metal shit anymore. As I've gotten older, my tastes have mild it out a little bit. So, but yeah, I can appreciate good music when I hear it, and that's good shit. I just don't jam out to it as much.
All right, next question.
What's the nerdiest thing you've ever done, and would you do it again?
This is so hard to answer because I am a true nerd, but I'm also like a cool nerd.
Sure, Jan.
But
every nerd thinks they're a cool
every
nerd.
nerd thinks they're the cool nerd. Because what? Me too, buddy. Me too.
But I call lesser nerds, and I was in a punk band. And,
you played in a punk band, so that gives you a little bit of street cred, a little bit.
But
like 20-something years ago.
like
I'm pretty sure that makes me the nerdiest nerd here because I don't have street cred.
the shit that I got bullied for being a nerd is now the like mainstream like common shit. Like I got fucking X-Men comics slapped out of my hand and paper thrown at my head because I was reading the Timothy Zahn Star Wars Thrawn trilogy in
D&D,
junior high.
D&D is something you used to hide from women that you wanted to go out with. Now it's how you get dates.
But
I swear to God.
I do have a specific answer. When I was first getting into like Magic the Gathering and tabletop role-playing games, there was a Star Wars knockoff of Magic, card game style. And I bought it and I had no one to play it with because it's like possibly one of the nerdiest things I can think of.
Is it the real Star Wars collectible card game?
Yeah. It was.
Oh, dude, I have that. I used to play that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt.
There's no way
I
that
still
Kelly
have a
doesn't
box
know
in my
about this.
room.
There's
I
no
have
way.
a box like 2 doors away from me right now, full of Star Wars, the collectible card game toys. I have the Millennium Falcon, man. It's so cool. Anyways, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I was looking for, I didn't have anybody to play with, and I saw that the nerdiest nerd in junior high, your classic, basically this kid looked like Napoleon Dynamite at like age 13 or whatever, but was probably 2 feet taller than Napoleon Dynamite, super lanky, covered in acne, walked funny, didn't wash their hair, like the biggest nerd I've ever seen in my life. And I saw that he was going through his Star Wars, trading card, game cards one day. And so I just I was like, hey, you I'll come over and play sometime. And so I went over to this kid's house a couple of times just to play the Star Wars, trading card game. We didn't have too much in common other than that. But, we found somebody to play the game together with, so that was cool. But
yeah, that doesn't sound too bad.
And I don't mean to be
a new friend.
Right. Oh, I mean, I guess it wasn't really my. Even I was like, this dude is a fucking nerd.
Wow.
But
wow.
He was disavowing
he's grown
him
into
now.
an adult. He's listening to this and he's like, I remember him from back in the. Fuck you, man. Fuck you. And he's now leaving us our first 1-star review.
He was the nicest. His mom was super nice, and the friendship didn't blossom into anything more than playing. We played a couple.
And why didn't it, Keith? Why didn't it?
Because I just couldn't do it.
The peer pressure, man. Peer pressure got to Keith.
Just couldn't do it.
He wasn't cool enough.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, Jamie, what about you?
I mean, I think we've discussed the nerdiest thing I've ever done.
Is it watching Lord of the Rings in theaters 13 times?
Yeah.
And then doing a
a
non-prompted book report on it for nobody in particular?
Literally.
You gave yourself homework?
I had to have the homework. It was literally just Fellowship of the Rings that I watched 13 times. They all have their own number. Fellowship was 13 times.
Unlucky number 13.
That was pretty up there. And just in general, my Lord of the Rings obsession, because I had the trading cards. I still have a signed Legolas trading card. I have the One Ring. I have the action figures of Merry and Pippin. No, I'm sorry. I have Merry and Eomer. That's who I have. Yeah.
Eomer? Who the fuck is that?
Oh, we see who hasn't watched the Two Towers yet.
No, I haven't gotten to it yet.
Yep.
But I know the characters. I just don't remember their names because I'm not a nerd like y'all.
You're bad at names. Is that
Carl
anyways.
Urban's character?
Yes, it is Carl Urban's
Name's
character.
William Butcher.
And it did absolutely bring about the
You're a fake nerd, Kelly.
With Carl Urban that continues to this day.
I'll turn in my Lord of the Rings card, but I will say that as far as some of the nerd shit I've done, when you're talking about going up to somebody and making friends just because of that's just how I made friends in 8th grade. I went to a new school and I had played Pool of Radiance on my Commodore 64 and those gold box D&D TSR games. And I recognized it was called Pools of Radiance on the Commodore 64. And he had a book that was called Pool of Radiance. And I was like, hey, did they write a book about the video game? And he kind of chuckled condescendingly and he's like, no, they made a video game about this book. And I was like, oh, can I borrow it sometime? And he just closed it immediately and gave it to me. He's like, fine, just give it back to me when you're done. And that's how I made my first friend in public
That's
school.
awesome. That's a great.
Yeah.
Fine.
We ended up playing D&D together. That's how I learned how to play D was with this dude, and I'd already knew the rules because of the video game. But that's not even like the two nerdiest things that I can think of is one time I did a Vampire the Masquerade live action role play event with some college kids when I was still in high school.
Okay.
I played a Ventru.
Firebolt.
No, it was different. It was glamour and charm and stuff like that. Yeah,
See me.
Really, all it was a bunch of people dressed like Elon Musk in his emo phase and hanging out.
You all studied the blade
in a community college event room and in the parking lot. That's where we did it after hours.
How much do clothes cost in the Matrix, buddy? Yeah.
It turns out they're pretty fucking expensive in this Matrix. A leather jacket is a lot, man. Anyways, but the real, like, one of the nerdiest things and the kind of thing that I hang my hat on as far as my nerd cred goes is being a performer and a employee at the Michigan Renaissance Festival. And not just that, but like I did it for a few years, but I used to like stay overnight at the Renfest grounds and like sleep in one of the booths, and I would find like different women to flirt with and try to like sleep in their booths in different nights. And I would just, at one point I was standing on top of the castle. Yeah, at one point I was standing on top of the castle, and we're not supposed to be up there, obviously, and I was drunk and trying to pee off the edge, and I was about to fall, and this woman in a chainmail bra caught me and kind of carried me back down and carried me and put me to bed. And
see, that's almost, you're just on the cusp of punk rock there. You're trying to piss off the top of the castle. That's great, and you're drunk. But then the whole part where you're carried off by a woman, well, that sounds pretty cool too, actually.
Yeah, at one point I was mocking her as she was carrying me. I was like, "You can't carry me. I'm too heavy." And she's like, "I am carrying you, you dumbass." And I'm like, "But you can't carry me." So she dropped me in the middle of the fucking road, and I hit my head. And she's like, "Do you believe that I'm carrying you now? Now shut the fuck up and let me take you home." Yeah.
And that's how Kelly got with a barbarian.
No, we never ended up. We're still friends to this day. She's wonderful. Luna, if you're out there, thank you for carrying me back to my hovel of a little bench that I slept on. Yeah, woke up the next morning, had breakfast in the castle, and went about my day. So, all right. So the next question is, if you could live in any fictional universe, where would you go?
Star Wars.
As for bonus points, what would you do? What would be your job?
I'd test my force sensitivity, and if I wasn't, I would, I guess, be a smuggler.
So Keith would be dead in like 2 months.
Whatever. If I died
in an imperial prison.
No, because he's a cool smuggler.
Yeah, if I died in Star Wars, I would die happy.
What about you, Jamie? What fictional universe would you like to partake in?
You're making me think
or
so
live in.
much tonight. Like, that's so painful. I'm going to choose the Labyrinth world, and I would totally have given in to the Goblin King, and I would be his wife. I would let him, I would fear him, I would love him, I would do as he says, and he would be my slave.
He would be your slave. Oh,
that's
okay.
the line. Do you not know the line? Fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave.
Oh, no, I see. I haven't memorized Labyrinth. I've only seen it a small number of times, like maybe 2 or 3 times in my life.
Philistine.
Yeah. See, I have nerd quotes and nerd creds in different areas of stuff.
I have a couple of guesses about yours, Kel, but let's hear it from the horse.
I want to hear your guess first because you're probably going to be pretty accurate. But go ahead. What do you think? What universe?
It's either Star Trek or The Expanse is what I'm leaning towards.
Obviously, Star Trek.
It's definitely Star Trek. Yeah, because Expanse is a little bit more dystopian. It's cool as fuck, but it's dangerous. Whereas the Star Trek, if you don't want to be in Starfleet, you just have a wonderful, happy life that all of your needs are provided for you, and you're allowed to create art or be productive in whatever way you want.
A food materializer and a what is it? Not the danger room, the holodeck. Yeah,
the holodeck. Yeah, the danger room. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. And so like you can create art and have all these adventures at home, but obviously like these hollow adventures, you'll want to do more with your life. So honestly, I would be in Star Trek. Yeah. So yeah, I would see myself joining Starfleet, and I would probably want to be a xenoanthropologist, which that would be somebody to study of the creation of alien cultures. No! I would like to study alien culture. Yeah, absolutely, dude. That's what part of my degree is in right now is sociology, and sociology and anthropology are just past tense and present tense. So.
Kelly wins the
All
Nerd
right.
Olympics here.
Hey, I just thought ahead and I'm like, no, I want a life that I can eat. Like, for example, if you eat food out of the replicator, you can have a chocolate sundae and it's not fattening.
But how is it filling then?
It still is filling. It's still mass. It's still proteins and all that shit. They just do it in a way that like substitutes different things out so it isn't as bad for you. They fit all of your nutrients and vitamins into whatever you're eating.
I get
It's
to be
wonderful.
a queen and David Bowie would be my husband. I would.
I would be undisturbed, just meditating in the Force, and these earthly pursuits would not have any thrall.
You would
over
meditate
me.
with the Force while I'm sitting in a holodeck, a virtual reality room, eating chocolate sundaes and having sex with the hottest people in the world.
A Jedi craves not such things. I can lift rocks
Yeah, well,
with my mind.
Kelly does.
So-
All right, so the next question. What's a movie, game, or show that changed the way you think about storytelling?
I'm just going to go with the first one, and that's going to be Pulp Fiction, which gave us 3 out-of-order little vignettes. And I know it's been done before
That's a good answer. Yeah,
but-
that's a good answer.
But, it's like, hey, wait, he just shot Vincent in the toilet. How is he back again? What's going on? And then second, after that, that was the first thing to sort of challenge my notions. Fucking Memento is pretty
Yeah.
Oh,
great.
God.
yeah.
Memento remains one of my favorite movies of all time.
Guess what Jamie's never seen?
Oh my God,
We'll have to fix
it's
that,
so
yeah.
good. I have literally seen that movie probably 100 times. It's the kind of movie where the more you watch it, the more you get. Like,
Yeah.
and a lot of movies claim that, but Memento, like, it really changes your perspective on people. Even like, I can clearly say after the second time you've watched it versus the 5th time you watched it, there are different heroes and villains versus the first time you watch it, where there are different heroes and villains. And during your first watching, those will switch a little bit as it goes. It's a great lesson in. I did forensic work in college, and I did a couple forensic pieces on Memento because it's so challenging to try to
Piece together.
all these different. Yeah. So
I've definitely heard really good things about it. It's almost daunting though how much you have to pay attention to it. I think that's what's put me off of it. Is that sometimes I don't want to pay that much attention in it. I almost never want to start thinking about paying that much attention. So that's where I know that sounds
the
awful.
car doesn't. I don't even start starting the car. I don't even open the door.
Right. It's daunting. Let's put it that way. It's just daunting.
It's cold out there, and I don't want to.
Right.
Start the car.
Exactly. It's
No,
like
I
getting out of
get
bed
you.
in the morning. It's
That begs the question: what is the answer? What is your answer, Jamie, to that particular question?
It's like making me think way too hard on a work night. I would say along the lines of Pulp Fiction is 4 Rooms, which is another Tarantino,
Collected,
Rodriguez collective storytelling where they're all kind of based
I
in
have
the
not
same
seen it.
location.
Oh,
it's-
good movie. Yeah.
It is a good movie. A lot of great actors in it too. And that one was really like that kind of blew my mind at a young enough and impressionable enough age that it really stuck with me. And obviously, like, you go way back to like Willow. That one, I think that was one of the first movies that just like really stuck with me as a fact that movies can really open up a whole new world.
As
Willow was wonderful. I loved it.
shout out runner up, and this is the video game portion of it. I'm currently replaying it. Final Fantasy VI, which was released as Final Fantasy III in the US on the Super Nintendo, was
That
one
was
of the
good.
first
Yeah.
games that showed me like, wait, this is not just a series of levels or me killing a bunch of monsters. There's a story here, and I'm
A
being,
compelling story,
Yeah.
nonetheless. Not
I'm
just
being-
going to point B and killing dragons.
right. I'm being deeply
Yeah.
moved by the characters in the story. What is this? How can this
Metal
be?
Gear Solid was like that for me, where it looked like a movie for the first time. I could show scenes to friends and say, watch this cutscene, and it looked like kind of like a movie.
I really enjoyed watching people play Final Fantasy. Like, I'm not the world's biggest gamer, but I do like to watch people play a game that, as long as they're not really horrible at it. So I enjoyed watching people play Final Fantasy for sure.
For me, it's got to be, I did pick one video game and one other story. The video game is the Mass Effect franchise, because how well they tie in all the different narratives from all 3 stories.
Mhm.
And when I first went into Mass Effect 1, I didn't know much about it. I just knew I liked BioWare and the fact that they were doing a sci-fi series. I was like, whatever, sure. So I didn't see the rails the first time I played it. And having all those interactions and knowing that your choices will matter, so these relationships matter, it gave the feeling of realism that I'd never really experienced in a game before. With these, it wasn't I was watching a story anymore. My personal relationships with these people kind of mattered to me. I mean, I knew they were fictional. I'm not sitting here saying that, you know, my love in the video game is real, but there is a certain level of like, it did matter to me what these people, these fictional people thought of what I did. That was wonderful. But, the first, and Memento is great. All the choices have been great so far, but the one that stuck out to me was, The Neverending Story, but the book. And I read it because I loved the movie as a child. And if you've never read the book, I'm not really spoiling anything here, but you obviously know from The Neverending Story that it's a story about a boy reading a book about somebody else having adventure. And then you find out, minor spoiler, skip ahead if you don't want to hear this, but you find out that he can affect the events of the world because he is a character kind of in their story, and what he does affects their world. In the book, there is another layer to it, as I'm sure you can see coming, that the book treats you, the reader, as if you can affect the book you're reading too. And it added this meta level to the book where I feel like, I know it sounds cheesy, but like I had those adventures with Atreyu. I had those adventures with Bastion Bucks. I knew these characters because we kind of had a one-way conversation that they could hear me, but I couldn't hear, or that I can hear them, but they can't always hear me kind of thing.
Speak for yourself, buddy. The love I share with Tally is real.
Hey, Tally is great. Liara, my first run, that will never be overcome. And when I cheated on her in Mass Effect 2 with Jack, I felt it in my core when she knew. She knew. And I was like, I didn't know you were coming back. What was I supposed to do? Be celibate forever? And then Jack hates me too because she's like, oh, okay, so all you want to do is fuck. So fuck you, buddy. And I'm like, God damn it. This is the kind of shit that happens to me in real life.
Yeah, they come to escape in these video games. What have I done?
I had a girlfriend mock me once. She's like, the situations you find yourself in video games are comic. Like at one point she's like, you spend more time taking your girlfriend out on dates in GTA 4 than you do taking me out on dates. And I'm like, it's quick with her, and you know.
That's a call out.
It only takes like 5 minutes total to drive her to the burger joint, spend two virtual dollars on her, get her a burger, and send her back home. Anyways.
All right, the last and most important question.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about this one. What's your favorite thing about your co-hosts? Aww. So, like, the reason why I brought this up is because we don't always, but we often will mock each other a little tongue-in-cheek. And sometimes it may seem like we talk over each other. I guarantee you a lot of it is due to, like, there is a lag that you as the listener might not hear because we tighten it up in post. But, I mean... We talk, like, none of you feel uncomfortable with the way we talk, right? Like, I mean, I don't ever feel bad if anybody ever cuts me off or anything.
Not at all.
I did feel bad for Keith when I was just a listener. When it was the
rise of
Skywalker, yeah.
Well, he had it coming.
Good,
no.
as you should.
I
was bullied and brutalized to an unfair degree. So
hey, I feel bad because I thought I was going to be the prosecutor and we were going to have an impartial judge. Katie came armed with 2 loaded cannons and she was not breaching any guff. So yeah. So I figured let's mix it up and let's say something nice about each other, just so the people on the other side know that we actually do like each other. So what are some of the things that you like about your fellow co-hosts? Go ahead, anybody.
I like that Jamie is pretty fearless in what she likes, and it doesn't matter if you don't like it, she likes it, and she'll tell you that you should probably like it, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kelly, I respect that you have convictions, and for the most part, you stick to them. Even if people, some people, you know, might ruffle feathers sometimes. Some of your convictions, but you stick to them.
Me ruffle feathers? Yeah. Never. Nobody's ever mad at me.
Also, you have good taste in video games.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Thanks.
I really admire the fact that both of you are such great artists in your own way. Kelly has great musical art. I've heard a lot of it. I really enjoy his music. I've seen some of Keith's art. I will hope to see more in the day, but he does great art, like graphic art, and I really respect and admire that out of both of you. And I like how warm and welcoming you both were to me here, because it was very easy to not be so warm and welcoming, especially Keith, who didn't know me at all. So I really appreciate that, and I just like you guys. You're fun.
I knew y'all would get along. Like, I try to surround myself with people of a like mind. I mean, I'm not always the kindest person in the world, so I try to surround myself with, I'm like Amos from The Expanse, where it's like, I have to be around people that are a little bit kinder than me generally, or else I just become a real jerk. So, I knew y'all would get along.
To that rule.
So,
because I would definitely
Keith,
say Kelly's kinder than I am.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, and that's funny. I've had people say to me, like, I've had people that have been in the guild with us, and they're like, it's awesome having you around, Kelly, because you're really even keel, and you don't get, too upset about things. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you talking about me? Like, I always get, if there's drama going on, I can imagine a lot of my friends like Keith going, oh, fuck, what did he say now? So, Keith, I think you're artistic and talented as fuck. I think you're funny as hell. I think that you and I have a really good balance, that we have very similar tastes in a lot of things, but not everything. So it's not like I'm talking to a fucking yes man all the time. You'll call me out if I'm like the Star Trek versus Star Wars thing. If we both like Star Wars and we're like, okay, or if, you know what I'm saying? If our tastes aligned 100%, it wouldn't be as interesting.
Yes.
The fact that I will never convince you is part of the allure, that someday, I feel like someday I will convince you that Star Wars
the carrot
is
on the stick.
Yeah. I'm never going to catch it. Even if I caught it, I'd be the dog catching a car. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. Jamie, I absolutely adore that you are passionate about everything that you do. Even when you're tired, you are passionately tired, whether, so I dig that as a ton. I think you're smart as hell. And I love watching you, like what I call like bulldogging onto a subject. I do the same thing too. That's what I see a similarity in a sense. Like, you dig your teeth into a subject and you're like, I am not giving ground one way or another, so you can try to convince me. And you know what? It's the kind of thing where you might be able to convince us later, but I'm not moving right now. There's no way you're convincing me right now. And when I see that in you, I just think it's fucking wonderful. And I'm almost like challenging. I know to back off because I know you well enough, but I'm almost challenging anybody around, like, tell her she's wrong. Tell her. Go ahead. I want to see what happens. So yeah, those are some of our nice thoughts about each other. We do really like each other. We'll put it this way. Even if we weren't doing a pod, we'd probably still be hanging out and playing D&D and talking about movies. It just wouldn't be as structured. Yeah. But who am I we're structured. Mm-hmm. Speaking of structure, quote, unquote, we've done all the questions. Yeah. All we have is start, questions, end. So we've done the questions. That means we're at the end portion. So thank you for listening. If you're not following us on social media, what are you doing? That's half of our fun goes on there. We make lots of really super funny jokes. At least some of us do. Keith's still coming along. We're still working with him every day, trying to improve that humor a little bit.
I'm workshopping everything.
Yes. He's just watching South Park episodes and calling it work. Don't let him fool you.
I support that work.
And now we're back to the grind with some more Lord of the Rings, which will be coming anon, as they say. So for Screen Share and Chill, I'm Kelly.
I'm Keith.
I'm Jamie.
I'm going to call the police.
See you later.
Bye.
What's the nerdiest thing you did? Tell us in the comments.
Yeah.
What's the nerdiest thing you did? Do you
help
have better
Keith feel
nerd
better
cred?
about his nerdiness.
I'm a cooler nerd than any of you. Goodbye.
I think that's an oxymoron.